So I stopped by because I had spoken with Nancy Powers from the Perry United Methodist Church, and I knew that she was retiring and a new pastor was coming in. Somewhere along the lines, we lost our communications, and so the new pastor was unaware that Perry United Methodist Church was providing our scheduled invocation speaker for tonight. So to begin with, I'm going to offer any member of the public who would wish to speak in invocation may do so. Anyone live or anyone on Zoom may do so. If there's any volunteer, please raise your hand. With no public volunteers, would any member of council want to speak the invocation? Mr. Elliott?
Let's ask a blessing on the meeting. Gracious Father in heaven, we are thankful for the opportunity to be here tonight and to be able to celebrate this freedom of meeting together and serving our community through this body of representation. And Father, we're thankful for the opportunity to come to do these decisions that are before us tonight. I pray, Father, that you would be with each of us who are here making decisions from the council, that you would give us wisdom, give the mayor wisdom for as he leads us and directs the meeting. Father, I pray that our decisions would be wise and just and in line with your word. And Father, we just thank you for this great country that you have given to us and allowed us to be part of. Prayed for those in leadership at all levels as we are struggling with many difficult situations going on, that you would give wisdom to each of those people, allow them to make wise decisions that are in line with your desires and for moving this country forward, for justice, for doing what is right, Father. I ask these things in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you for your service.
Really?
Okay,
It could
it's now 7:04 p.m. and I will call to order this regular meeting of the Perry City Council for July 16th, 2020. If everyone would please rise. And if you would join me in saying, I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
America, to the republic for which it stands,
under God,
one nation,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Thank you. Everyone may be seated.
Report.
Devin, would you please call the roll?
All right. Genevieve Cottrell,
Here.
Craig Elliott,
Here.
Mindy Gallavy, here, Adam Grass, Christopher Powell,
Here,
Terry Wood, Mayor James Huglet,
Here.
all is accounted for except council members Adam Grass and Terry Wood.
I find that a quorum is present. We may proceed with business. So that will take us to the first item on our agenda is approval of the same agenda. The clerk and I have prepared the agenda, and with, to the best of our knowledge, it contains all business that needs to come before you for council's attention tonight, and I submit it to you for your approval or your amendment.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
second that.
Moved by Cantrell, seconded by Galvin, that we approve the agenda as printed. Is there discussion on the agenda? Hearing no discussion. Councilwoman Cantrell?
Yes.
Councilman Elliott?
Yes.
Councilwoman Galvin?
Yes.
Councilman Powell?
Yes,
The vote is 4 yeses, 0 noes. Motion passes. That moves us to reading and approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Devin, would you please read the minutes of the July 2nd, 2020 regular meeting?
I move that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the July 2nd, 2020 regular meeting.
Second.
Moved by Galbally, seconded by Elliott, that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes of the July 2nd, 2020 regular meeting. Is there discussion on those minutes or any objections? Hearing none. Councilman Elliott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Galbally.
Yes.
Councilman Powell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cottrell.
Yes.
Vote is 4-0, motion passes. We will now move to pre-approved reports and presentations. I don't have any of those for you tonight, so we'll close that section and move to public comment. It is at this time during our meeting, and also at the end, under any other business may come before council, that we open the floor for members of the public to address the city council on any matter they may wish to. There is a 3-minute time limit on public comment. People with us by Zoom or live may make public comment. Please raise your hand if you'd like to publicly address the city council. Justin?
Well, good evening, everybody. Justin Horvath, Shiawassee Economic Development Partnership. My home address is 818 South Washington Street in Wausau. Here tonight in support of the rezoning request for Matembo Foods. I was at the recent Planning Commission and spoke in support as well. This is a great new business that's coming to the city of Perry. We'll be constructing a new facility that will provide new tax base into the city, will create jobs in the city. And I think, maybe even more importantly, really symbolizes the kind of business we want to try to attract here. They are a specialty food manufacturer. And I think we all know this county, our history is agriculture and manufacturing. That's who we are. So this blends both of those things. And as we know, with everything going on with the virus, food production, availability of food in the area is very, very important. So to have more food manufacturing in our community and have it produced right here, I think is a great value. So couple that with the fact, it's in a commercial area now. There's no impacted residents around. I think it's really going to fit very well on Lansing Road, and certainly want to encourage your support tonight. I know the Planning Commission approved it unanimously after a thorough review, so hopefully the council will do the same tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the council at this time? Seeing no raised hands, we will move out of public comment and move over to communications. Devin, do you have any communications for council tonight?
I have one communication. It'll be formally put out shortly. Kyle is working with Dory. National Night Out, due to the governor's orders and situations, will not happen for the city of Perry this year. And that's all I have for tonight.
Very good.
It won't happen at all?
Correct. It's being canceled.
Okay.
That will move us to the next section, which is mayor's reports. Devin, it has the saddle letters on here, but I thought I gave those to council at the last meeting under communications.
What I was concerned about is that you read the communications and you usually follow through with council's blessing to have a letter of consent. And so this time they actually have a physical copy of what you read them. And so if they're in agreement, we'll do as we usually do. Protocol is that council agrees and you will submit a letter saying council approves the financial support as long as the amount stays in the approved 0.25 millage. It's our standard. And we didn't really cover that in the last one. It was just reading the facts. And because I got it on July 2nd, they did not have the physical materials.
Okay, so it's the same letters that they saw. Do they have a motion for tonight?
No, as long as they agree, if there's nobody that objects, that's how we've done it in the past, that we would go forward.
So we'll bring this as a business item. If any council member wants to speak tonight about a concern or objection on this, and if you want to talk to us about questions after the meeting, we'll be available to do that. But if everyone on council is satisfied with this, then I'll go ahead and do the letter. So you guys let me know under any other business if you have any concerns. So that'll move us off to committee, oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, I do have one other item of report for city council. I had delivered to city council members with their packet a offer that came from a company called Landmark Dividend. They have been working at this since long before I was mayor, back into the time that Steve Dodge was here and possibly before that. They want to buy out the lease that we have on our tower. And it's a lease that we are currently receiving $26,400 a year for in the form of monthly payments. They are offering to buy it out for $425,000. I have been dealing with this for years. I've been telling them to go away. I've been telling them I don't want to hear it. I've been telling them I have no interest, and I've been trying to get them to stop calling Perry to do this, but they won't. And I thought that given that my time here is coming to an end by December of this year, city council need to be brought in on what's going on here, because you guys will face these offers after I leave. So with the assistance of the treasurer, I have also provided a city tower worksheet for future revenue. I wanted to show you why I'm always telling these people to buzz off. What you can see on that sheet is you can see the dollars that will be generated over the next 30 years of the lease that go into the city budget, supplement our budget each year. Over the next 30 years, the city will receive almost $1.5 million in revenue, a stream that they're offering to buy out for $425,000. Now, I wanted to give you a realistic thing. So if somebody who studies finance were looking at that, they would say, yes, $1.5 million over 30 years isn't worth $1.5 million. You have to adjust for inflation. So I looked at the history of the last 20 years, and our average rate of inflation has been 2.1%. I wanted to present this as much in their favor as I possibly could to show how bad of an idea it is to sell out to them. If we assume over that same 30 years we have a 3% rate of inflation, the present value of that $1.5 million is $887,665, of which they are offering you less than half right now, cash on the barrelhead, to sell that to lease out to them. I would recommend strongly against that. It'll hurt the future revenues for the city of Perry, and will make things harder for other city councils. But these offers come with a regular basis, and I think they're going to continue to come. If council wants to talk about this or go over the information, I'll be available for questions, or we can discuss it under any other business if council wants to do that as well. But I wanted to report that to you guys, what was going on. So that concludes my reports. Oh, yes, and there's some money that's available to reimburse us for emergency services for our police services. And Devin, clerk, and our chief of police have been working on that, pursuing it. I signed the paperwork today. We're going to seek this money. If we get it, it was not included in the budget. It'll be a tremendous help to the city budget. In fact, if we get enough of it, it could solve the budget deficit that's coming this week. So I'll let you know what happens. We'll be submitting those reports that I signed tomorrow. That concludes my report and moves us to, well, before I go to committee reports, do council members have any questions for me? And we're to committee reports. There is a committee report regarding recommendation for planning commission rezoning. Who's going to give that committee report?
I will do it.
Councilman Elliott?
Perry City Code Section 1082.01 is repealed, and the below stated Section 1082.01
We're not taking it up as business. We're just
taking it out.
getting a report.
Okay, excuse me. Sorry.
Sorry, we're not down to business yet.
Yes. So what's going on here is a redoing of some of the codes dealing with the planning commission. And we are wanting to change some of the timing that is required through our ordinances dealing with special meetings for the planning commission. Right now, I think the code says that we have to wait 15 days in order to have a planning commission special meeting, which is way beyond what the state requires and what the city council has for its procedures, which I think is 18 hours, I think is what the city is.
24 hours.
24?
24 hours, but that's set by city charter,
Yeah.
voter approved.
So looking at the state's requirements and what their procedures and stuff are, you can go down, I think it was to 12 hours is the minimum you could have a special meeting. But we're looking at switching that to from the 15 days down to a 48-hour time frame for being able to call a special meeting. That was, I'm gonna look here where it was said specifically. Pardon me there if anybody else sees it.
You mean which
Yeah,
section?
just the language prepared yet to amend the city ordinance, we just haven't.
It's under, yeah, it's referencing, I would say the Open Meetings Act is on top of it, and then the proposed revision is your 1220.04, right?
Okay, 12.0. Okay, there it is down the bottom here. Am I on the right thing? But I have.
Do you want this?
That from what we did on the meeting.
This is what everybody received,
Okay.
so that you could report and all be on the same page.
Thank you. Pardon me if I. Is it 1220.04? Is that the rezoning? Or no?
It's not rezoning. Right now, what you did is you moved to the recommendation of amending city ordinance chapter 1220.
Okay, that's what that
If
is.
you want the rezoning, I also have that.
Okay.
But that was the first topic of the committee reports. Did you want to go backwards and go to the rezoning first?
Oh, it's listed down here first and agenda this way. Sorry.
So,
Getting the confused.
I guess that's all you need to state is which one you're,
I'll talk about
reporting on.
1220.04 then, since I have that from you. So what we're looking at doing is switching this is dealing with the special meetings. Switching the wording for the special meetings for the planning commission from what it states currently, which I think is 15 days, to necessity of 48, a notice of 48 hours before the meeting, and everything else as far as the commission being subject to the Open Meetings Act would be staying the same. The other one, rezoning.
More pieces. There's
This is dealing with the Tumbo. This one is dealing with switching of a B1 commercial business to an I1 light industrial or Batumbo Foods, which was what Justin Horvath was speaking to during the public comment. And they are asking to switch their property, which they have purchased over off of Lansing Road, to I-1 in order to fit the ordinance's requirements for what they're wanting to do. And that decision was voted on unanimously by the Planning Commission, that we switch that in order to allow Potomac Foods to go forward with their plans to build a food research facility over on Lansing Road. Are there any questions?
Genevieve, did you want to add anything else to the report? I'll recognize you first.
Chris has his hand up after that. Sorry. Go
There's a
ahead.
button for that, isn't there? Hey, I'm just wondering, how many jobs is that gonna bring? Do we have any idea?
They talked about it, and I want to say it was something like, it wasn't a ton, it was like 10 or 12 right now. But they were looking at if how this goes, and if it the business moves forward like they are thinking it will, then they are going to be looking to continue to grow here in Perry.
Okay, but we don't know out of those 10 if they're bringing 10 people from another place, or are they gonna be hiring in the
No, I think
Perry
they're going
area?
to, some of them are going to be hired for sure. Yes, some of them are going to be current employees, owners of the company.
Good, thank you, Craig.
Mhm.
That's all I have.
Anything else from council? Questions or comments?
Yeah, I wanted to add to the list of proposals that the Planning Commission put forward. We actually had 3 proposals that Larry prepared and we voted on. The first one was, like Craig said, that 15 days to 48 hours. The second is revisiting. Currently now, the ordinance requires a full update of the master plan every 5 years with an annual review. And we wanted to change that to a review of at least every 5 years. So that it's more in sync with the census data that comes through. So that would be to change 1220.06. The third recommendation was eliminating the Planning Commission's responsibility to draft an annual capital improvement plan. And we want to replace that with an annual written report on the activities of the Planning Commission.
Okay. Anything else? Questions from council or comments? We'll have an opportunity to discuss the proposal later on under new business. So does that conclude the committee report?
Yeah.
Or do we have any other committee reports from other council members at this time? Okay, we'll close committee reports and we'll move to presentation and approval of the bills. Council has had an opportunity to review the bills and we seek your permission to pay them.
I move that we approve the bills as presented.
Moved by Cottrell, seconded by Galbavy, that we approve the bills as presented and payment be authorized. Is there discussion on the bills? Hearing none. Councilwoman Galbavy,
Yes.
Councilman Powell,
Yes,
Councilwoman Cottrell,
Yes.
Councilman Elliott.
Yes.
Votes 4-0, the motion carries. From there, we will move to old business. Our first item is possible approval of pet waste receptacles with grant. Devin, do you have a report on this?
I do. The council will notice that I have not set up a motion. I have been informed that the city of Perry did not get the grant for the pet receptacles. And because they were a little bit more over and beyond for the use of our parks, I didn't assume anything. There's no money been spent. There's no plan of money being spent. So this could be a motion of to table indefinitely and just take it off. I appreciated we had the opportunity. I went on the beginning of this week, because I got a hold of Justin Horvath. I was curious who got the grants to kind of know what they were looking for and what they were giving the $2,000. And he assured me that it'll be up there, but it is still not available to see who got granted the $2,000 in the thumb region of this. But again, thank you, council, for the opportunity of trying to pursue this. And if Parks would want this information and pursue it, that would be another topic in another meeting. But that's my report. You asked for it to be on the second meeting in July.
What's council's pleasure?
First, I want to say, Devin, thank you so much for doing the work and looking into that, and then following up to see what the winning offers are. That gives us direction in the future. That's another possibility for us. Budget challenges. I recommend that we remove it from the agenda.
Second.
Okay, so I'm going to take that as motion by Cottrell, seconded by Elliott, to table indefinitely possible approval of pet waste receptacles with grants. Is that a fair representation of your intention?
It is. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Councilman Powell?
No.
Councilwoman Cottrell?
Yes.
Councilman Elliott?
Yes.
Councilwoman Galbavy?
Yes.
On a vote of 3-1, the matter is tabled indefinitely. We will now move to the next item of old business, possible resolution to adopt water and sewer rates. Devin, do we have anyone to make a report on this tonight?
Don asked me to just briefly speak, that he is talking with RCAP very diligently. The report that he needs to serve council is still not ready, so he is asking council's patience to bring this to another meeting until he's ready.
Okay, so to refresh council's memory on a little of the background, rural development that monitors our compliance with our bonding covenants called me earlier this year and reported that our water fund was out of compliance with bond covenants. When we discussed ways to resolve the problem, they told me that what the city needed to do was have Michigan Rural Development perform a rate study, and that we would need to comply with the recommendations in the rate study. Doing so would cure our bond covenant problem. So Michigan Rural Development provides rate studies at no cost to the city. So I ordered the rate study performed. John's been working very diligently with them to get it, and the result will be these rate recommendations. I would seek council's approval to let this sit to the next meeting with no action taken. Are there any objections or questions? Hearing none, we'll leave it as no action taken. We'll move to discussion of possible amendment to the city council rules of procedure. Would council like to leave this no action taken? Hearing no objection, we'll leave that as no action taken. Our next item is discussion about becoming a Second Amendment sanctuary city. With Councilman Wood away, would council like to leave this as no action taken?
Mayor, I had a question. Does the
Yes.
person, does the council member who brought it to the agenda need to be the person to remove it?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Council members put these on the agenda, but it's council as a group who decides what things stay on. When you want to remove something from the agenda, you do so through a motion to table indefinitely, and it's at the discretion of the entire council.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Shall we leave this as no action taken? Okay. We'll move to new business. possible adoption of rezoning resolution. So this is the first matter that Genevieve and Fred reported on. I'll open the floor up for discussion, questions, and motions. What's council's pleasure?
Did anyone from council have any questions for Craig or I about that rezoning? I know you heard from Justin Horvath. Were there any other questions?
Chris has his hand up. Is that still true, Chris?
No, I was coughing. I'm coughing. Sorry. Oh, I
Okay.
should have done.
Okay. Sorry. Questions she was asking?
With this, do we need to read all of this?
No, if you look at your motion, the resolution does not have to be read in its entirety. Ordinance does. So if you look at your proposed motions, you'll see a summary.
Okay. I move that we accept and adopt the rezoning resolution as presented by city attorney regarding vacant land on Lansing Road, which is currently B1 Commercial District to I1 Light Industrial District.
Support.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Galbavy, to adopt the resolution as just read. Is there discussion or questions? Hearing none. Councilwoman Cottrell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cottrell.
She answered yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it on the first one. Councilman Elliott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Galbavy.
Yes.
Councilman Powell.
Yes.
The vote is 4-0. The motion passes. That will move us to possible first reading of amendment to trash ordinance number 340. Do we have a report on that, Devin?
So through the budget, John reported that the yard waste was gonna need to be considered of actually having a fee added to all the residents. The current ordinance does not have that. This has been sent to our city attorney, and because the trash ordinance already has it's set up, you will notice that what for the responsibilities of the owners, the compliance, the establishment of rating fees, and the responsibility of payment. Two things have happened in this ordinance. One is that yard waste has been added to allow rates to be established and fees. And also, the attorney, while reviewing it, found that there was discrepancy in our trash ordinance in itself, and if we weren't including the defining information about our commercial businesses using our trash and yard waste. And so all this ordinance at this time is allows a possible establishment of rate and fees, and it's including the yard waste.
So as this is part of the effort that I reported on with the budget to start to equip the city to replace the equipment that is wearing out, that forced us to reduce services available for picking up yard waste and branches. And so this is the first step. This is a first reading on the changes to the ordinance. It's not final approval. So council has to approve it for a first reading tonight and move it on to the next agenda. And then at the next meeting, you would vote on final approval. And then if you're going to set in fees, that's a future action. So I'll open the floor up for questions, comments, motions, discussion.
So with yard waste, do we currently have where you have to get rid of your yard waste, but you can't burn it or do anything with it except give it to the city, right?
That's correct. The city picks up leaves and lawn trimmings and branches on schedule through the summer. I mean, you can keep branches that have small recreational fires, that's allowed.
But
The
not-
burning of yard waste is not.
we have a whole yard waste ordinance that addresses that subject that you're talking about.
Mhm.
And I have questioned whether it would be logical to mirror the trash into the yard. And with all the changes that would have to be, it was recommended that this was the most logical to just add yard waste for this particular of the fee schedule, because it's already here. It was more practical.
Is there any more idea what the charges would be?
That's still a part in process, and we'll bring those to you specifically in advance of the meeting.
I'd like to just table this until we have an idea what the fees are. I don't think it's a very good idea to vote on something that we don't know how much. And we have, I was curious about the equipment. Are we utilizing that equipment in the best way to cut prices? Because when I had some work done out front, a contractor from Williamston came in and with a backhoe dug up the end of my yard for my sewage. And that's all good, but I thought we owned a backhoe. And that was a $500 bill. And so I don't know. I've had a lot of people not yell at me, but talk to me about getting grass in a bag. Is a little bit tough for them, and we help out as neighbors, but I think we should have another week or so, Mr. Mayor, and then we can vote on whether we want to vote. God. And that's
I would note for council that the setting of fees would be, this equips an ordinance that allows you to set fees, but setting fees is entirely at the discretion of council. Council would have full control over that, even under the new proposed ordinance. So you don't require yourself to charge fees if you move this ordinance forward. I will note for council as a practical matter that an ordinance approval, including a first reading, requires 4 votes from council.
So what we're talking about here is just simply adding the term yard waste into this ordinance that's already on the books. Am I correct in that?
And updating other parts of the ordinance.
Yes. So there still is a problem with the current trash ordinance not addressing commercial in it. It was something that just, we all knew it was there, we assumed it was there, but the words the attorney said are not there. So this trash ordinance has a discrepancy, and while he was finding that, yard waste was added because it already had the structure to be able to charge fees.
So all we're asking for in this one is just simply to add those few words into something that's already there.
Correct.
On the books already. It's not adding the fees or even saying to add the fees.
Correct, because with the yard waste, we have a whole nother process. So the yard waste ordinance was created to allow that to happen. And then we have resolution that followed it and fees for the trash itself, which explains who can opt out in trash. And the yard waste would be something similar, that those details and the amounts, like Mr. Powell asked, are not in black and white yet. This is just the first step of allowing a possible future fee.
An ordinance
add
do,
for the
for you guys' information, require a certain time. You have to do a first reading, and that pushes you out 2 weeks to your next meeting, 2 to 3 weeks. At the second reading, you then start a 30-day clock for publication of the ordinance. So approving a first reading tonight does not approve the ordinance or tie council's hands if, after looking things over for the next 2 weeks, you decide that you don't want to approve it, nor does it compel you to approve it at the next meeting. It just puts you at a point where you can vote on final approval at the next meeting when you're ready to do it. Given that this motion would require 4 votes, Councilman Powell, would you like to make a motion to let us know what direction you would like to go?
I'm going to vote yes on that, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't aware exactly what this was, but if it's just the first reading, we'll have time, so I vote yes.
Okay.
Or I
so
move
we
that
have a
trash
council member
ordinance.
make a motion and read the proposed ordinance. Would you like to do that, or does somebody else want to take that up?
Yeah. I move that the trash ordinance amendment 340 regarding yard waste fees, and which reads as follows, be placed on the next agenda for possible adoption.
You gotta keep going, Chris, I'm sorry. You gotta do the whole thing for an ordinance.
Oh,
That's why none of
The city of Perry ordains.
Would you like me to read it, Chris?
yeah, go ahead, would you, James, please?
I'm happy to help. The City of Perry ordains, Perry City Code Section 1082.01 is repealed, and the below stated Section 1082.01 is substituted in its place and stated 1082.01, responsibility of owners or occupants. Every owner, occupant, or person in possession of a premises in the city is required to have accumulations of refuse, yard waste, trash, and rubbish removed and disposed of in accordance with this chapter, other city ordinances, and in accordance with the rules and regulations promulgated under this chapter. The city shall provide for such refuse, yard waste, trash, and rubbish removal services, which may include recycling services for premises within the city. There shall be paid to the city the charges specified by the city council for such services. The superintendent of public works shall be authorized to exempt a premises from this requirement if deemed proper due to the unique nature of the property or due to extenuating circumstances. Perry City Code Section 1082.03 is repealed, and the below stated Section 1082.03 is substituted in its place and stated instead. 1082.03 compliance requirement. No owner, occupant, tenant, or lessee of any building, structure, property, or premises in the city shall store, collect, transport, or dispose of any refuse, yard waste, garbage, rubbish, or other rejected or unwanted waste materials except in compliance with this chapter and the applicable state, federal, and local laws, rules, and regulations. Perry City Code Section 1082.04 is repealed, and the below stated Section 1082.04 is substituted in its place instead. 1082.0 establishment of rates and fees. The city council shall establish by resolution all rates and fees for all premises for refuse, yard waste, trash, and rubbish collection, and the allocation of such fees. Such rates shall be subject to revision to the city council from time to time. Perry City Code Section 1082.05 is repealed, and the below stated Section 1082.05 is substituted in its place instead. 1082.05 responsibility for payment. A, in the case of premises consisting of more than one unit, which units are billed separately for water charges by the city water billing department, fees for stated collections shall be billed to the person who is the customer of the department. In the case of premises containing more than one unit, which premises are served by a single water bill, so that occupants or tenants served by a single water bill, so that the occupants and tenants cannot be billed separately by the department. Fees for said collection shall be billed to the customer of the single utility bill, who shall be liable for the services fees for such premises owners and or occupants of premises who are not customers of the department shall be billed individually. B, although the occupant or person in possession of the premises may make arrangements with the city for payment of rates for the required services, the owner of record as title holder, as reflected in the records of the city assessor, shall be ultimately responsible for all said collection charges for services to the owner's premises. Perry Code Section 1082.06 is repealed and the below stated Section 1082.06 is substituted in its place instead. 1082.06 service fee. Service fee for removal of refuse, yard waste, trash, and rubbish by the city or city contractors shall be established by the city council from time to time. Perry City Code Section 1082.08A is repealed and the below Section 1082.08A is substituted in its place instead. 1082.08 liens, special assessments, and deposits paid. Charges for premises refuse collection shall constitute a lien on such premises. All of the provisions of the Perry City Code not in conflict with and not not amended by the above recited amendment are ratified and remain in full force and effect. The ordinance shall become effective 30 days after date of adoption. So there's the reading. Motion by Powell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Elliott to approve the first reading and place it on the next agenda for possible adoption. Is there discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Elliott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Galvin.
Yes.
Councilman Powell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cottrell. Councilwoman
She's
Cottrell.
coming in quiet, but she said yes.
Okay. So then the vote is 4-0. Motion passes. Thank you. That will move us to the final item of new business, which is discussion to amend City Ordinance Chapter 1220. We received our report from Councilman Elliott and Councilwoman Cottrell. Is there any discussion on the subject? What's council's will?
Mr. Lambert came to me with this information, and I recommended to him because this is not a zoning ordinance, this is a city ordinance. The procedure for any amendment to a city ordinance is council's. And so I advised Mr. Lambert that Planning Commission is more than welcome to make a recommendation to any ordinance that is in the city, and that's what they have done for you, is they have done all their work. I have to say I'm very proud. I gave some insight that there's two places that the Planning Commission should be looking, and that is at the state level and Planning Commission and the Open Meetings Act. And they have done so. They have referenced it. So at this point, if council as a whole is willing to consider the recommendations because it affects personally the Planning Commission, either it should go to Finance and Ordinance, if there's any review or repair or to put this in an ordinance, or the council could consider sending this to the city attorney to try to adopt. And usually my experience with that is when a recommendation and it deals with the Planning Commission specifically, the city attorney will do the work, and then he will wait to make sure that he interpreted Planning Commission correctly, because you will be following those rules. So thank you again, Larry, for talking to me about that, and nice job, Planning Commission.
On this, do we just need to make a motion to send it to the attorney to get it looked over and find?
Two options, yep, send it to Finance and Ordinance if you are interested as council to still work on it, or send it to the city attorney, is my experience.
Council doesn't need to make a motion if you give the direction on which way you'd like this to go. Administrative review.
I think.
In other words, do you want Finance and Ordinance to review and come back with a report on this, or do you want to send it to the city attorney to begin the drafting process for ordinance amendments? Or, I guess the third option would be if city council says, no, I don't want to go forward with this. That would be an option.
Yeah,
you can take
that
too.
is true.
But I can direct all of that stuff administratively if council will let me know if you would like to do that.
I want to special thanks to Larry for spending the time to put all this together. You did a great job. Thank you, Larry, there. I think it would be good to go ahead and move this forward to the lawyer to have him look over it and finalize it and get back to us to actually vote.
Is council in agreement with
I
that?
agree.
I
They
support
were
that, Greg.
thorough. About this. I will be.
So not hearing any objection, we'll have the city attorney begin a drafting process for amendments to the ordinance. And this will reappear before city council when ready. Any other discussion on this matter?
Have a good shift, honey.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I think Genevieve went ahead, somebody step in.
Oh. Okay, so that will move us to any other business that may come before council. This is our second opportunity for public comment. Would any member of the public like to address council at this time? Any hands raised there?
I'm sorry, no.
Okay, so,
Oh,
I'm sorry. There is a
I'm
hand?
sorry, I just viewed the phrase. Keep going.
Okay. Do members of council have any other items of business you'd like to take up tonight? Is there any discussion on the lease buyout that I reported to council? Do we need to discuss that, or is council satisfied?
Yes, satisfied.
No, I wanted to comment, Mayor, thank you. Yeah, thank you for taking the time to do all that work on behalf of the city. You know, particularly because you really didn't have to, but that was a lot of work and you wanted to make sure your legacy and the direction of the city moving forward. We had the vision and the wisdom of the experience you have, so thank you very much for putting that to us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilman Elliott, did you have something? Okay. So, council have any other items of business you'd like to take up in light of the discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to council discussions and observations. Councilman Powell.
I just want to make sure that everybody's feeling good and everybody stays safe, please. So, and our first responders. That's it. I think everybody's doing a great job.
Thank you, Chris. Councilwoman Galvin. Councilman Elliott. Mayor Pro Tem Cottrell. Well, I think I've talked enough tonight too, so I'll close that out and have nothing to say. So agenda items for the next meeting. We have possible resolution to adopt water and sewer rates, discussion of possible amendments to city council rules of procedure, discussion about becoming a second amendment sanctuary city, possible final approval of trash ordinance number 340. And if the reports from the attorney are ready, then possible first reading on amendments to city ordinance chapter 1220. And if they don't appear on the next agenda, they'll appear as soon as ready. Are there any other items for the next agenda that I haven't remembered?
I don't think so.
Any items of business come to council members' attention between now and our next meeting? Please bring them to the attention of the city clerk, and we'll make sure that all items that need council's attention come before you at the next meeting. With that, the time is now 7:58. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for your work.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.